Welcome to the Simply Be Found Huddle, where Dean and Rob talk about everything marketing, and we get a lot of questions, Dean.
Yes.
And this is what I want to talk about. We get a lot of questions that come in from members. We get asked about service areas, which we are adding. We have that coming into our system. Service areas are a way for a business to be able to submit out what area they work with. This works really well for contractors and anybody who works from their home or anything like that, to where they can broaden out their horizon for that. Are you hearing feedback out there that a lot of businesses want to be able to see service areas?
Yes, I'm hearing that as well, where they want to be able to, if it's a small business that's outside of a metro area, they want to be able to get into those metro areas. If they're inside of a big metro area, they want to make sure they cover all the suburbs. So I'm hearing that. And so they're trying to make sure, because if they're not listing their address, they need to make sure they define their service area, especially. But if they do have a PIN and they're listing they need to still provide that service area so that information goes out to all those different locations. I'm hearing that a lot, that people really want to make sure that they're being seen, and we're collecting that data and sending it out. Then is what we're going to be doing. Is that correct?
That's correct. I think that's a very important piece that's inside of the mix, to where they can send out that information. So our listings engine, and there's a lot of different places you can go to be able to do this. You can go to Yext, you can go to Sign Up, you can go to a lot of Bird Eye. There's a lot of places that do this. We're just happen to be a competitor of theirs. But what we're going to be adding into the listings engine is to where it can listen now. So it can monitor, right. It can listen. So you're going to see like a service coming out. It'll probably have an extra cost for monitoring your reviews, but our system's going to be watching and listening to everything that is coming out and looking at all the different data that's out there. So instead of just pushing data out, now with AI, we can actually bring information in to be able to utilize that information.
Right. No, and that's just the big thing, is just making sure that it's out there. And, right. and all the networks are going to be hearing, they're going to be receiving it. Now, which ones, where things go from there depends on the networks a little bit too. Is that correct?
It does. It 100% depends on what the network is doing and what network it is. It depends on the network for how that information is going to be used, because that information, when it goes out, is extremely important. So when we send out information, we always get a tag back from certain networks that, hey, we got your info. Doesn't mean they're going to be updated in that database. But we send out, we constantly are looking for sites to be able to put you on, and that'll list your data. This might be just local directories. It might be big directories. It might be different sites that put that information for local businesses out there. But it's an important piece to be able to send out that info, because it's going to build you backlinks up, which are going to be able to come to your website. So it's part of that ecosystem. So we've talked about this, about being, the listings engine is that root ball underneath that tree. Your trunk of your tree is the website. Your branches are all the different types of marketing methods you're using. That's why this is going to be really important for basically giving a lot of fertilizer to that root system, so it's going to be able to pick up, because now it's going to be listening, it's going to be hearing, it's gotten smarter.
Gotcha. So one of the questions I was asked, and let's kind of go around a little bit. I've had people say, which is more important, the city and state or the zip code? Is there a difference in it? Do the engines
for the service area?
Yeah,
it's the same thing. So I mean, computers could be able to figure out what that zip code is, and it'll put it in there. But you got to remember, some cities have 5-6 zip codes inside of them.
Exactly.
So, exactly. I mean, it depends on the city for how many zip codes. I recommend doing city and state, city and state, or town and state inside of there. That's what I recommend.
Okay.
That way the data is in there. You make sure you cover everything. So if I was a service area business, I'd plot a map and I'd go, okay, what's all of them? It doesn't matter how small they are, just list them out. You're going to list them in the order of importance. Where do you want to be able to get leads from? Because what that listings engine is going to do with that service area is it's going to send it out to all the networks that'll listen. Not everybody picks it up. Not all of them look at that. But our system's going to try to find local directories that might match to you as well.
Okay, perfect. So is this kind of, I know that we dwell in the city pages on websites a little bit. Is this does this augment or supplement to that information a little bit?
Good.
Okay, it depends on, but it's all about the backlinks again, correct, on that whole process?
Correct. I mean, it's one of those things to where those city pages, it'll pick up on that. So the listings engine actually now will start going through and scanning your website to a point. So if you have a website and you have city pages, it'll know that based on the information. So when you give that website address inside of the dashboard, it knows that, it's scanning that website, it's pulling that data in. It's going to be part of that listening piece that's going to be really looking at it and looking for that information. So now we have information that's not only just going out, we're actually going to pull stuff in.
Gotcha. So when you talk about I'm rambling right now. Just saying, look at my train of thought on, because I'm going to the geolocation piece a little bit when people are using their mobile devices. Is that going to help with finding you because of that? Because if you're in that geolocation area, will that help you if they don't put that in their long tail keywords? What's your thought on that one? I mean, I have theories, but
I think it still needs to be inside your long tail keywords as well, because that's going to be another data point. So when you're building that up and you're building all your data points up, the more data you provide, almost the better off it is. I mean, you're not going to be using it for, not every single network's going to pick up that information, but the ones that will, it's going to be really, really important for it to be there. When you're coming in and you're asking us for different coaching aspects, we also pull from those same data sets as well. So I'd put it inside I'd make sure all your cities are located in your long tail keywords. I would also make sure that it's listed inside of your service area once we get that released.
So let's kind of talk keywords, long tail keywords. So if you're offering something, if you're like, let's say we like to always talk about our roofing contractors a lot. So if you're doing roofing in this city, you want to go roofing in this city, and then you want to do another keyword with roofing in this city, XYZ or whatever.
Roofing, Greeley, Colorado. Roof repair, Greeley, Colorado.
Right.
Roof repair, Windsor, Colorado. You go through and you just list that out as that long-tail keyword. That'll bring you a lot of value.
Okay, that's where I was kind of going with it, because not only is the location important, the service area, if you will, it also needs to be brought into, so it's all tied together. That's what everybody doesn't understand, is that if you're doing something in keywords, you're doing something on your website, you're doing something with the service area, it all needs to be it all ties together. It's all intertwined.
It's all one great big huge giant ecosystem. That's why I love our tree analogy, probably the best, because you got that root ball, you have that website as that trunk, and then you have all the branches, which would be social media. Then you have smaller branches off of that. You might have so you'd have your social media networks. You might have an ad campaign going on in Velpac. You might have an email campaign going on. You might have a pay-per-click campaign going on. All of it ends up tying together, and you can reduce your ad spend. You can reduce your amount of work, and by making sure the right data is inside of there, especially when you mix schema into it and all of that, inside of your website, that's going to pull into your local listings. You're going to be able to build your backlinks up. The whole thing is one great big giant ecosystem, and they all talk. I got asked yesterday when I was going off on a tangent about that of, well, how does your listings data have anything to do with a Velpac ad or a pay-per-click ad? And I said, well, he goes, I understand the pay-per-click ad more than I do the Velpac ad. He goes, but I do a lot in Velpac. How's my website? How does anything that even tie into it? And I said, well, they get this piece of paper, they pull out their mobile phone, and they might just search your company name versus searching for your actual website address that's on there because they went to the search bar and they did it. Well, you have to make sure your business comes up and they don't click on one of your competitors. So if you're not providing all the data, or if they misspell something, you want to make sure you're also showing up for that, or you're going to be left behind. And that's why it's all the way tied together.
Right. Well, the other thing too, I'm not promoting any one process, but a lot of times when they do mailers or paper coupons, they do a digital coupon as well. So there's also that piece that goes on. And when they do that, I'm not trying to, like I said, I know that it's all all intertwined, but my head gets, I as a small business owner, my head goes boom like this. I mean, how it all connects, because if they're doing a digital and it's linked to your website or whatever, that's another backlink as well, even though it may be a paper mailing process. Is that correct?
And it works for any industry. So, I mean, you could do this for real estate. You could do it for contractors. You could do it for a lot of different pieces. I mean, think about the realtor that might have their park bench that as someone's driving down the road, they see that park bench. What are they going to do? They're going to go on Google. Are they going to type out that full website address? Probably not. They're going to type the name.
Right.
You want to be able to make sure that you have everything optimized to where you come up in that slot to where you're at the very top of that list.
I'd be perfect, so, and every bit of information counts to getting you to that top of that list.
Correct.
I mean, you have to make sure that you put all the information in, and that's why we're listening and we're sending this stuff out for everybody.
With how many thousands of different profiles we monitor, with how many thousands of websites that we monitor, we see the analytics there. So the data team and myself, we look at this stuff and then we look at what the feedback is from members of what they're looking for. Service area has been a big topic and it's been a big piece we've been trying to work on. We made huge pieces on that and we got a couple of things that we can send out, which is why once we got that fixed and put in, it was pretty quick to be able to do. We're going to have this released in the next 7 days.
I heard from our engineers too that they're thinking they'll be in place by then.
Our engineer said it'd probably be done today or tomorrow, but I'm not going to count my engineer on having that completely done today or tomorrow. But sometimes they come back and they shock the living hell out of me. So
I know, but we have our expectations. And they have their expectations, and we meet somewhere in the middle. I mean, that's part of the. But the problem is we don't know what coding issues they may discover with
right.
the networks out there with our aggregation process.
Correct. I mean, you got to remember we came into this as an aggregator, not using third parties in a lot of different aspects, and we're taking a different approach to how listings are done. I mean, listings, citations, backlinks, all of those different pieces all fit into that listings engine piece. Bringing out the review monitoring is going to take a little bit longer and some more work to be able to get that released out, but that's going to be huge. You're probably not going to be able to respond to most of your reviews because you'll have to do that directly on the network, but at least you'll be able to see all your reviews if you care about that. You can see your ratings and how you're doing, and there might even be some review generation stuff that comes out later if that's something somebody wants. But you got to remember our entire system is 100% based on member feedback. That's why we have members.
Right.
A lot of places get really freaked out when they talk to us for the big corporations, and they're like, "It's really just you two?" Yes, but we have a powerful team. We have a powerful team that's behind us, and with the power of AI, we can speed things up. But we don't have chat bots or any of that.
No.
And when it comes, for that whole piece, I don't think AI should just go totally rogue.
No, I agree with you 100%. And we talk about the support. And yesterday, we both of us happened to have the same time. We both jumped on the same chat with the guy. It blew him away. They go, "What? How do you guys do this?" It just happened to be that we were both there. We were both available.
And we have two different opinions. You and I don't always agree.
Right. That's exactly.
And then there's times that our data team sees something on chat. They don't have conversations with any of our members, but there's times they see that. They can send us an internal note and they'll say, "Actually, I'm seeing this over here," or "I'm seeing this over here," and being able to call that out, and we can look at that a little bit closer. There's times I've had to come back to a member before and say, "I was wrong. My data team called me out on this, and I was totally wrong. This is what really is going to happen, and this is how you can fix that," because that is what powerful pieces are in there. And that's why we're going after. We built this whole entire thing for small business, but really we've expanded out to where we have enterprise, we have multi-location. The multi-location piece, we didn't even really mean to set that up, but we did it.
I know. And, and again, it's all about, that's where we get our feedback too a lot is from the chat. We get coaching calls where they ask if it's available, but the chat is where we discover when people are looking at us and trying to evaluate. That's where we get a lot of feedback is there as well, and that's the thing is we discover things that other people might be doing, and then we say, well, some of that stuff that other people are doing isn't valuable. So that's the other side of it too. Is we only want to add things that are going to add value and create less work for an agency or a small business or a multi-location business, and that's what we're really trying to optimize for.
Well, and keeping things simple, we don't throw everything out there, and we don't make things complicated. So we're not adding the reports, we're not adding the analytics. For one, most of the information's BS out there, so I would call the BS card. but we try to keep everything really super simple. So everything is done to where it makes sense and it doesn't take a lot of time. Any business owner, non-tech savvy, can come in and use our system. I mean, I talked to a lady the other day that was 86 years old that was using the system. She didn't think she could, and she goes, "That was actually super simple."
I know.
Well, that was our whole piece. That was our whole entire mindset. And I mean, we have tons of people who have English as their second language that are inside of our system, and they get shocked that they're doing it on their own because it was costing them a fortune to be able to do what we're doing.
Right, exactly, and and you talk about not being tech savvy. Of course, I'm that person too, to a point. I'm not as bad as some. I'm not as good as some. I mean, like an 86-year-old member may have said, that guy, the other guy doesn't know what he's talking about because I'm smarter than he is, and so it's all based on the experience level of where everybody's at. And the problem is, if you get stuck, we still have that member benefit piece where we can coach you and help you get through something too. I mean, that's the big thing. Like if you are struggling with the service area piece on that, when we get that all added, just reach out to us. We'll we're gonna we'll do a training video on it, or kind of thing that's gonna go out there. But if you get stuck, let us know, and then that helps us to resolve an issue. You may discover something we haven't discovered with the process as well, and say, oh, I never looked at it that way. This is an issue. So that's the other thing that goes with it.
It would be, I mean, we make tweaks all the time based on that feedback. I mean, I changed username on the login a couple of days ago to be email because people are getting confused because they're like, I have an email address, but I don't have a username. And I'm like, okay, well, we can add that. That's not that problem. Right. That's not that big a deal. And that's on the fly.
Right, exactly.
We're innovating. We're putting stuff out constantly inside of our system. We don't have to go through a board. We don't have to go through any of those pieces to make this happen. Our members are that. And I'm talking to a lot of agencies who are seeing increases on other networks out there. And we have a lot of agencies coming in right now that are using our system for it. So not only are we built for that small business, but we have agencies that are seeing more results by using our system compared to some of what I got told of the table. We couldn't do what we were doing. We're not sitting at the big boy table.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was there. I responded to one of those like that. I said the kids' table was more fun than the big boy table anyway. So,
and I want to sit at the kids' table. I want to get some results for people, and I'm not going to make it super hard, and I'm not going to make it super expensive.
Exactly. And if you want innovation, you don't sit at the big boy table because nothing ever changes there. That's my opinion.
Well, the problem with the big boy network in a lot of ways, and this is kind of an interesting piece, is everybody's using the same people. And it gets to the point to where if something goes down inside of that mix and you're using all the same people, now everybody's down. Or if there's a change, everybody's down. And that person that's not, they're just sitting over here and going, hey, we're still working. We're still in there. It's kind of like when the internet goes down for websites and everything. And that's usually a huge AWS, which is an Amazon server farm, or it's a Google Cloud server farm that goes down because they power most of the internet. So then you have all these big places go down overnight. You don't want that. You want your business not to be stuck with everybody else because you're also trying to be able to beat out your competition. So if your competition's using the same software, do you want to do the same exact thing they're doing, or do you want to do something different and hope for a better result?
Exactly. And just so everybody knows that my daughter would pound me on the head for just saying big boy. There's more than just boys at the table. So just so everybody knows that,
I'm quoting that because that's what we were told. You can't sit at the big boy table. At the big boy table, there is only one girl, and she refers to herself as a queen.
Right. But just so everybody knows that, that it's just more than just that one girl. But they're all from the same background.
They
are. They all seem to originate. It's kind of like coaches in the NFL, if you will. How these coaches start to spread out. They try, and then they start to emulate each other. They aren't creative, and that's where we came in, and we've done some things because we try to take the concepts and make it more creative and make it easier to use. And that's the bottom line.
I think that's a huge key to the whole piece. I think it's one of those things to where it makes it super I mean, it's super able to go into there. The coaching piece is in there to where, yes, they all come from, the same college, or they go between. I mean, if you look at the Denver Broncos, I mean, one of our coaches was our head coach a couple years ago, and now he's our defense coach. I mean, people bounce between different positions all the time.
Exactly.
And that's really what we bring into that piece, is being able to bring a whole different process, whole different area, and being able to add things in, because that service area is going to be super important for a lot of businesses to be able to stand out, get found, and be able to expand their reach into different areas. And then if the review monitoring piece there's some people that care about what their reviews are. Some don't give a crap. And that's why you add it as an add-on and you call it good.
Right. And that's on our runway, but that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking service area. So
we're talking service area. I mean, there's a lot. I talked about review monitoring at the very beginning of the call.
Oh yeah, you did. I guess you did. Yeah. So
I did, which we'll do a whole entire podcast that's just on review monitoring, because I have some ideas there and what's all happening. Yeah. But how businesses stack their information, stack their data is going to be really important. Building that root ball, getting that tree trunk all the way set up to make sure your website's there, and then branch that business out, as that's going to make you stand out inside of the forest as everything comes in, because we're trying to bring everything in one spot. And that's our whole entire goal. We want to be able to make it easy for any small business to be able to do it. That's what these conversations are. We don't want our podcast to be about just our software all the time, but really that's where we're seeing most of our results. That's where we're seeing everything and where we're getting feedback. You could use this on anybody. You could use these same principles over on Yext. You could use them on Bird Eye. You could use them on Sign Up or Bright Local or any of the ones that are out there. It's your choice as a business owner. And there's lots of different ways to be able to, everybody gets mad when I say to skin the cat. And I love my cat, so I'm really not being mean to it. But there's 1,000 different ways to be able to skin the cat and get the same exact result. You have to go with what's going to work for you and what you think the best cost-effective thing is. The other piece is you can go out and do all this for a lot of it for free if you have the time to go to every single network. But if you do that, you have to make sure you're sending that same information, and you probably won't go out to 800 plus networks to be able to do it on your own that way, unless you have a ton of time. And if you have a ton of time, I'd like to know how you manage that, because I don't know.
Exactly. But the big thing though is if you do the free thing, and we're saying you can do it, if you make a change on one of the networks, you need to make sure you go and make that same change to all the networks. I mean, You can't, if you do just one, it's going to mess you up and it's going to hurt you. So, so that's that whole point on why our process is really nice, because you can do it once and it goes out to everybody. You don't have to go spend all that extra time, but you can still do it. But I want to just emphasize that you need to make sure it stays consistent on all the networks that you're doing that on.
Correct. That's a huge key, and I appreciate that. I like that. I think that's a huge piece. But I mean, if you're looking to be able to do this, you want to be able to use our software, come check us out at simplybefound.com. We are going to be adding that service area function. Even by the time I post this will either go out probably either on Friday or Monday. But so by the time I post this, it already might be out.
Right, exactly. So anyway, thanks. I think we've serviced area.
I think we beat the ship up.
Yeah, there we go. We beat the ship up. I like it. So,
beat the ship out of it.
So anyway, Rob, thanks for.
I'm Rob of simplybefound.com, one of the co-founders.
I'm the Dean, the other guy, whichever way that is.
Whichever way. If I point that way, am I pointing the right direction?
No, you're pointing the wrong direction, so it's mirrored. There you go.
So, there you go.
Yeah. All right, thank you for that.
All right, thanks, guys.